Bhadram karne vishrunuyama devaha Bhadram pashye makshabhirya jatraha Sthirairangai stuštuvagum sastanubihi Vyashema devahitam yadayuhu Om Shanti 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 Om, O gods, may we hear with our ears what is auspicious. O ear adorable ones, may we see with our eyes what is auspicious. May we sing praises to ye and enjoy with strong limbs and body the life allotted to us by the gods. Om, peace, peace, peace. Even the mind that knows the path can be dragged from the path. Can I go on? Even the mind that knows the path can be dragged from the path. The senses are so unruly. But he controls the senses and recollects the mind and fixes it on me as the supreme. I call him illumined. His wisdom is steady, whose senses are under control. Thinking about sense objects will attach you to sense objects. Grow attached, and you become addicted. Frustrate your addiction, it turns into anger. Be angry, and you confuse your mind. Confuse your mind, you forget the lesson of experience. Forget experience, you lose discrimination. Lose discrimination, and you miss life only purpose. When he has no binding desire, no hatred, free from attraction and aversion, he attains tranquility. A man walks safely among the things of lust and hatred to obey the Atman, the self, in his peaceful joy. In tranquility, all sorrow is destroyed. Sorrow melts into that clear peace. His quiet mind is soon established in peace. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verses 61 to 65.
You have no microphone.
I think I know this.
Okay. I know you can be loud, Swami.
Was I loud enough?
More is better.
More is better? What happened? We just had audio.
Some short.
Is it short? Well, I'm sorry. Should I read this again? We don't have much time, though. Yes? It's pretty good, huh?
It is good.
All right. Should I wait, Ananta, or should I?
No, carry on.
Carry on. All right. Even a mind that knows the path can be dragged from the path. The senses are so unruly, but he controls the senses and recollects the mind and fixes it on me as the Supreme, says Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. I call him illumined. His wisdom is steady, whose senses are under control. Thinking of sense objects will attach you to sense objects. Grow attached, and you become addicted. Frustrate your addiction, it turns into anger. Be angry, and you confuse your mind. Confuse your mind, you forget the lesson of experience. Forget experience, you lose discrimination. Lose discrimination, and you miss life's only purpose. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ramakrishna Monastery. I think we're all a little excited about today's topic. We'll be talking about the human condition today. We'll be talking about a problem, a common problem we all have, and its solution. I have been meaning to talk about the choice we have in our life from the Vedantic perspective, from the Vedantic principles, the principles also proposed by these 12 steps, a means for recovery. There is a very important common ground in these two. Both start recognizing a problem. There is a problem. What is the problem? Our lives have become unmanageable. I love it. And we need to do something about it. I know. That's number one, right? I borrow it. Yeah, it's very valid. We will see this in detail, but I kind of like the approach of the first step when identifying the problem as the solution. The problem lies in me, and so the solution. We have fallen into a net, and very few are willing to recognize and accept it. What net? Sri Ramakrishna, our teacher here, he says, suppose a net has been cast into a lake to catch fish. Some fish are so clever. Some fish are so clever. Just don't touch anything.
Something wrong with the system. It's not easy to identify it.
All right.
You might have to just yell the whole time.
All right.
It's going to keep
Well,
happening.
God gave me a strong voice. I hope you guys, I can reach you all. Sri Ramakrishna says, suppose a net has been cast into a lake to catch fish. Some fish are so clever that they are never caught in the net. They are like the ever free. But most of the fish are entangled in the net. Some of them try to free themselves from it, and they are like those who seek what we call liberation. But not all the fish succeed. Not all the fish that struggle succeed. A very few do jump out of the net, making a big splash in the water. Then the fisherman shout, "Look, there goes a big one." But most of the fish do not make any effort to get out. How beautiful, huh? On the contrary, they sit comfortably in the mud with the net in their mouth and lie there quietly thinking, we need not fear any more. We are quite safe here. But the poor things do not know that the fisherman will drag them out with the net. And you know their destiny. These are like men bound to the world. Let's talk about Vedanta a little bit. By now, you must be experts after coming every Sunday and listening to us. But well, Vedanta is the self-dehypnotization. Self-dehypnotization. We are all hypnotized. How is that? We have fallen into a false identification. I think I am imperfect, I am insufficient, since I identify with the body and the mind. The problem is taking myself to be a mortal, imperfect, and subject to various limitations. Vedanta teaches that the self is of the nature of what we call ananda, bliss, fullness. It is the very fullness, the very happiness that we all seek. I am always that fullness, but because of ignorance about myself, I take myself to be other than what I am. The self is sat, which always is, and which cannot be negated. Existence. The self is chit, consciousness, awareness of that existence. Please pay attention. The self, who we are, is sat, existence, chit, awareness of that existence, and is also of the nature of ananda, bliss, absolute, here and now. Just as the clouds cover the sun, ignorance covers the truth about myself. The sun does not change or cease to shine, but appears other than what it is when covered by the clouds. All human urges and pursuits, if reduced to their fundamental forms, could be expressed in the desire to live, and live happily, to be free from ignorance. All the problems I suffer belong to the relative I, the I that is falsely identified with the role I play at any given moment. It is like an actor who plays the role of a beggar on the stage, but takes home the hunger and the poverty of the beggar with him after the show. Is it clear? When I say I am restless, I am depressed, I am fat, I am slim, and so on, these are problems or situations which are objects of my knowledge and not the subject who witnesses them. These problems belong to the mind and the body and not to the I, which is the subject. Are you following? This knowledge puts my immediate problems in proper perspective. The problems belong to the object and not to the subject. If the physical body is an object of knowledge, if you see the body as an object, it is definitely not you, although you have a close association with the body. There is no problem if you say, this is my body, like you say, it's my car. You don't say, I am the car, do you? The problem arises when you identify with your body. The problem arises when you say, I am this body. You then become immortal. You may be immortal from the standpoint of the body. You may be blind or deaf from the standpoint of the senses. You may be restless from the standpoint of the mind and wanting in knowledge from the standpoint of the intellect. The problem is you are mortal, restless, ignorant, sinner, and so on, because you choose to identify with it. And this happens naturally to all of us. We never stop to think about it. Who are you? Look at yourself from the standpoint of the I. What is that I? When you look at it, you can only say, I am a conscious being, a person who is aware of its own existence. That's you. Can't deny that. If I ask you, do you exist or not? You will say, well, I have no doubt I exist. I hope. How do you know you exist? You exist because everything else requires proof of its existence, whereas you require no proof. The existence of everything is proven because you exist. If you need proof of your existence, you could have no knowledge. I is self-evident. Simple consciousness. A wise person, knowing himself or herself to be full and complete, is always full and complete in spite of his or her situation. The person is not dependent on a situation or a thing or a condition to be full. A wise person is one who is a master of himself or herself because the person knows the truth about his own self. You like it? Mm-hmm. This is hardcore Vedanta. Swami did for you. Can't help it. Now you may say, well, that sounds very nice, Swami. Is it truly practical? Can I apply this in my life? Yes. Let's talk about what we want. What I really want is to be free from want. That that I want is exactly what I do not want. To fulfill a desire is actually to get rid of it. Therefore, to say I want is really to say that I do not want to have any want. Yet, I cannot help but want. For being self-conscious, I am conscious of my incompleteness, which just don't feel complete. If I do not take myself to be incomplete, I would not want to be different from what I am. The sense of incompleteness expresses itself through the seeking of different ends. It is not something I cultivate or learn in time. It is not something I cultivate or learn in time. An infant also has wants. It may not know exactly what it wants, but in addition to merely wanting to live, it also wants that which will make it feel good, will make it feel happy, secure, and so on. As we grow, our desires become defined and refined. What? Our desires, our wants, and constantly renovated according to our cultivated likes and dislikes. Ethics, values, whims, and moods at a given moment. Thus, we find that in addition to the basic urge to survive, there seems to be another basic urge to have things go well with us, which manifests in the mind as, I want to be full, complete, not full. I want to be full, complete, sufficient, fulfilled, happy. Is it true in all of us? No one has to be told that being full and happy is a desirable thing. In order to satisfy that urge, I seek something, be it an object, a situation, a person, and so on. In order to satisfy that urge, I seek something, being an object, a situation, a person, and so on, believing or hoping that the change in a given condition will result in or bring me closer to the full person I want to be. That's our life. If the situation is contained in the problem and yet remains a problem, it is purely due to our ignorance. The problem is caused by ignorance of a fact. The knowledge of the fact alone solves the problem. The problem, therefore, being one of ignorance, can be resolved only by knowledge. If I disown myself, if I am ignorant about myself, there must be self-knowledge. It is this knowledge that we should seek and strive to manifest in our lives. This self-knowledge is what is called Vedanta. The happiness, the peace of mind that I seek is what I want. If it is so, then why do I miss it? I cannot miss myself. The problem is now clear. It is a problem that is different from any ordinary problem, for the end is of a different nature. What I want to gain is not something away from me, not something different from me, and not something yet to be achieved. What I want to gain is what I want to be. What I want is myself. I simply want to be my real self, fulfilled and complete. Well, you must be thinking, wow, Swami, I thought we would be talking about simple problems. Well, all right, let's calm down a little bit and let's talk about simple problems. They're not quite simple though. But it's very essential for us to understand this. Let's talk about addictions. Because, I don't know if you know it or not, we are all addicts. Whether you want to accept it or not, we are. We all think of sense objects, and naturally we get attached to them. Dr. Anna Lemke is a psychiatrist and the chief of the addiction medicine dual diagnosis clinic at Stanford University, a school of medicine. She's an author and wrote a wonderful book I highly recommend, Dopamine Nation. Finding balance in the age of indulgence. Ooh, it's wonderful. I love it. She treats patients struggling with addictions. She defines addiction as the continued compulsive use of a drug or behavior despite harm to self and or others. Did you follow that? Yeah. Well, you may say, I am not an addict. I don't have a compulsive use of a drug or alcohol or whatever. I don't have a compulsive behavior that hurts myself and others. Well, I say, really? Really. We all have a natural compulsive addiction to our body, our image, our unrestrained clinging to sense objects, our need to feel complete at any moment, all the time. And in our frustration and inability to feel complete, in our inability to have a relationship with ourselves, in our restlessness, in our inability to fight the pain, to feel lost, without direction, not knowing who we are, not knowing what the purpose of life is. We simply get lost in distractions. And we say, that's life. But, no. My friends, don't get too comfortable like the fish in the mud. Distractions are so much easier these days. We have so much time that we spend hours on our smartphones, playing video games and doing social media, that now are not only lost, we are not only lost without knowing who we are in deep, deep trouble. Maybe it's one of the reasons that the message and principles of the Vedanta are so needed today. Many of us are in a state of desperation to find meaning in our lives, to find a structure and a conducive lifestyle that will keep us on check. Vedanta demands us to be in charge of our lives. Vedanta demands us to be in charge of ourselves. Deep within the brain, I know, you ready for this? Is a set of structures called the limbic system. Relax, it's going to be fun. Just listen. Deep within the brain is a set of structures called the limbic system. The limbic system contains the brain's reward circuit or pathway. The reward circuit links together a number of brain structures that control and regulate our ability to feel pleasure. The reward circuit links together a number of brain structures that control and regulate our ability to feel pleasure. Feeling pleasure motivates us to repeat behavior. There is a very powerful mechanism that occurs in the process of addiction. The very primitive, the very primitive part of our brain, in the limbic brain, the emotional brain, it's called the lizard brain, becomes disconnected from the prefrontal cortex, which is the gray matter right behind our forehead, which is so important for future planning and decision making. And when this happens, this disconnection, we are not able to observe objectively anymore. The lizard brain, our rewards pathway, ends up being the sole driver of our motivation and our choices. We become blind. We lose ourselves. We are no longer in charge. Now, when things are working out healthily, the prefrontal cortex and our reward pathway and our limbic brain are talking to each other all the time, checking on each other. Is this good? Is it not good for me? Will it help me in my spiritual growth? It analyzes, it discriminates, it reasons over our decision and consequences. Dr. Anna Lemke says, but when in a state of addiction, this connection gets cut off, and we are just in lizard brain, being guided by this reflexive pull of our desires, which essentially, again, ultimately, it leads to a pain-pleasure-pain balance tilted to the side of pain, where we are driven to pursue our drug of choice, because when we are not doing it, we are irritable, we crave, we are anxious, and we are depressed. One of the big problems these days, contributing to compulsive overconsumption for all of us, is not just the ubiquity, potency, and novelty of addictive drugs and behaviors, but also the fact that we have so much more time and we really don't know what to do with it. So true. These days, everything is right in our hands. What do you need? Go to Amazon.com. Costco. These days, everything is right in our hands. We really don't have to work too hard to get things. We shop online. Distractions are so much easier these days. We now live in a world of overwhelming abundance. The access, quantity, variety, and potency of highly reinforcing drugs and behaviors has never been greater, including drugs that didn't exist before. Texting, tweeting, gaming, gambling, sugar shopping, vaping, boiling. The smartphone is the equivalent to the hypodermic or hypodermic syringe, delivering digital dopamine for a wired generation. Wow. Do you have a smartphone? You do? Me too. We need to be in charge of it. If you haven't met your drug of choice yet, don't worry, it's coming soon. On the website right next to you, your new TV show on Netflix. Yet, despite increased access to all these so-called feel-good drugs, because of it, we are more miserable than ever. Oh my God. This is so true. Rates of depression, anxiety, physical pain, and suicide are increasing all over the world, especially in rich nations. Our compulsive overconsumption has led not just to increased psychological suffering, we are literally consuming ourselves to death. What is dopamine? The places where neurons connect and communicate with each other are called synapses. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, and neurotransmitters are those molecules that bridge the gap between two neurons. So they essentially allow one neuron, the presynaptic neuron, to communicate with the postsynaptic neuron. You know this?
Yeah.
Of course. Dopamine is intimately associated with the experience of reward, but also with movement. And this is very important because movement and reward are linked. If you think about the early humans had to move in order to satisfy their needs. Water, food, etc. Dopamine is this really powerful, important molecule in the brain that helps us experience pleasure. Very scientific, that we need to understand. One of the most important discoveries in the field of neuroscience in the past 100 years is that pleasure and pain are co-existent. located. Same place, in the brain. By that it means the same part of the brain that processes pleasure also processes pain. And pleasure and pain work like a balance, like a seesaw. When we feel pleasure, the balance tips one way. When we feel pain, it tips to the other. One of the overreaching rules governing this balance is that it wants to stay level. After any deviation from neutrality, our brains will work very hard to restore a level balance, or what neuroscientists call homeostasis. And this happens naturally. And the way the brain does that is with any stimulus. On one side, there will be a tip, an equal and opposite amount on the other side. It's not that it finds level and balance all the way or right away. If you experience pleasure, you will experience the same amount of pain. You just need to wait. And this is true not just within us. It's the law of life. We have to pay for every single pleasure and happiness we get. There is a cost, even in our brains. We are always releasing dopamine at a kind of tonic baseline rate. And it's really the deviation from that baseline that makes a difference. When we experience pleasure, our dopamine release goes above baseline. And likewise, dopamine can go below that tonic baseline, and then we experience a kind of pain. If you enjoy watching a TV show, and you start watching an episode, and then, how about another one? And when it ends, that pain, that sense of emptiness, one more. And then you binge. If we expose ourselves chronically to substances and behaviors that repeatedly release large amounts of dopamine in our brain's reward pathway, we can change our tonic baseline. It will be harder for us to remain balanced, to regain balance. Our brain naturally tries to compensate for all that dopamine, which is more really that we are designed to experience. We are not designed to experience all these drugs that are these days in front of us. If pleasure is abused, creating this loss of balance, then we need more and more of that source of dopamine, but this time just to feel normal. We live in a world in which we are saturated with dopamine, and we live in a culture which encourages us to pursue it. Were you aware of this? I think we are. We are aware. We just, like in the case of our own life experience, our own existence, we don't stop to think about these things. We just keep going. We feel safe in the mud, on the net. People are more depressed, more anxious, more suicidal, and more addicted than they were 30 years ago. People are more depressed, anxious, suicidal, addicted than they were 30 years ago. Is this going to change? I don't know. I think it will get worse if we are not in charge of ourselves. If we don't do something about it. There is a new drug out there, and a very powerful drug that numbs us more than we have ever been. Dr. Anna Lemke wants to bring awareness around this process. Wonderful. By understanding the process, we can achieve mastery over it, and we can get back to what we want, our own selves. Understood? We can go on. Now, Vedanta also demands we are in charge of ourselves. Vedanta demands we understand our relationship between our senses and the gate of our senses and the sense object. Because, as expressed in the opening of the lecture, thinking about sense objects will attach you to sense objects. Grow attached and you become addicted. Frustrate your addiction, it turns into anger. Be angry and you confuse your mind. Confuse your mind, you forget the lesson of experience. Forget experience, you lose discrimination. You lose the human capacity, the human gift, our capacity to use our intellect. Self-mastery comes with living a disciplined life. Self-mastery comes with living a disciplined life, having a sound and solid value structure. Vedanta introduces the concept of God as the higher power, as the explanation for everything we have no control upon in our lives, as a means to connect with that principle we call God. God is a means to reconnect with our own divinity. In this case, God represents that balance, that order in nature. By having a relationship with the ruler, the harmonizer of all the laws governing all of us, that which can be put in one word, order. We can create a loving relationship, a loving attitude of surrender. That attitude of surrender includes prayer and acceptance. This attitude is based on glad acceptance of what it is, living in conformity with the order of Dharma, righteousness, and appreciating this order or God. If we live in this way, we find that attachment, strong desire, and anger will lose its power over us. If you check our lectures online, we talk about this all the time. It's very difficult to summarize this in a few minutes. One thing is true, problems must be addressed. AA principles and the developed 12 steps comprise an excellent program based on spiritual principles that is practiced as a way of life. Its recovery program is centered in a lifestyle choice. Many people think AA is a cult. But hey, it works. Okay. You may think the same of me. I take it. Any set of beliefs and practices can be seen as a sort of cult, especially if it involves the concept of God and a community of people. Throughout the years, it has been proven to be an effective way to recover and regain control of ourselves. Boom. Yeah. This program is effective for any kind of addiction. As mentioned in the beginning of the lecture, it starts acknowledging there is a problem and there is a solution. The problem is ourselves, and the solution is ourselves. But first, we need to get our confidence and willpower back. We need to get our freedom back. And for that, we need a structure. We need a lifestyle that can help us stay in balance. We need the power that comes from our value structure and lifestyle. Like in Vedanta, this program demands interest. You have to be interested, commitment, and strong determination. There are 12 steps that can be easily seen as a solid and powerful means to achieve mastery, to reshape our personality and transform our character. And we achieve this goal through having a relationship with a higher power, and thus regaining the strength needed. We can transform our lives and the lives of others. A better society may be the natural outcome of this particular program. A program based on love, empathy, compassion, gratitude can and will eventually produce strong and saintly people. These people will be sensitive to the problem of others. They will be people who do not harm others and who are very understanding and mutually helpful to each other. Having gone through their own problems, they understand the problems of others. They know what pain is and why others behave the way they do. Who knows, maybe we have the opportunity to become a better society due to our own addictions and behaviors. We can create awareness of how things work in nature. Addressing the problem is the main point here. To be humans imply free will. We have the choice to transform our lives. We are the problem. We are the solution. It's on us. The 12 steps demands rigorous honesty and truthfulness. It's a path of spiritual progress that involves a psychic change or a new mindset. Last Sunday, Swami was talking about this. A mindset. Complete mental shift in perception about ourselves and our lives. Like in Vedanta, these steps are followed with supervision and guidance. Here is called the sponsor and supported by the group. In Vedanta, we call that guru, teacher, spiritual guide, and satsanga. All those that are from India, they understand this term, satsanga. Admitting we are powerless over alcohol, drugs, and behaviors, we identify the problem. I accept and behave that a power greater than me can restore me to sanity, and by surrendering, I can get back my strength. I make the decision, turn my will and my life over my higher power or my God. Meaning, we make the decision, and this decision is followed by action. What action? We make an inventory of our resentments, our fears, our harms. Basically, why we are upset with ourselves and our reactions that are not helping me and others around me. See how the steps evolve, one after the other. All the defects of character, the results of these resentments, fears, and harms done to ourselves and to others, fear, dishonesty, selfishness, self-centeredness, being judgmental, being inconsiderate, being irresponsible, etc. We accept our defects of character and create a moral inventory of ourselves. Then, admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. We open up. After all, this is natural. We admit the willingness to get rid of our limitations, and we humbly ask Him, our God, to remove our shortcomings. Through prayer and affirmation, we create a bond with this higher power. I pray that you, O Lord, now remove from me every single defective character trait that stands in the way of my usefulness to you and to others. Our defects in character blocks us from God, blocks us from other people. In Vedantic language, we say we have to let God express through you. We have to let that divinity manifest through you. We are trying to get rid of these defects of character so that we can be of maximum service to others. And this is wonderful. Now, from here we jump into steps number 8 and 9. Step 8 is making a list of people we have harmed and becoming willing to go and make amends. The 9th, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. We heal by saying, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I didn't know any better. Which is very human. We open our hearts. The steps 9, 11, and 12 are nothing but spiritual disciplines. Continue to personal inventory, and we were wrong, promptly admitting it. Same in Vedanta. We have to constantly watch our minds. What is it seeking? What do I want? What am I? Am I here? Paying attention? Am I somewhere else? Am I thinking ill about others, about myself? alertness. Step number 11, thought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. There is this practice of trying to give a platform to the mind to rest in tranquility so that we can experience tranquility and calmness every day through prayer, through meditation. Praying only for knowledge of His will. Let you be. And give me the strength and the power to carry on. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics, addicts, all. Yeah. And to practice these principles in all our affairs. These are nothing but a spiritual disciplines of a dualistic program that we can be smart enough to use. We can be smart enough to use, to make use of it, and thus transform our lives. It requires discipline and order. In a spiritual life, generally speaking, we really don't have a structured, step-by-step kind of program to find purification of our mind and achieve tranquility. You say, well, Swami, wait, karma yoga, all the yoga. Oh, yeah. But step-by-step? So clearly defined? We have to figure it out. Yeah. How do we do that? By studying the scriptures, by learning from spiritual teachers, self-realized souls, self-mastered souls, and try to follow on their footsteps. Sometimes we do this through a religion, following dogmas and rites. That can give us a structure. The beauty of this program, though, is that it's on us. Puts the whole responsibility on us, like Vedanta. It allows us to exercise the choice to carry on with the lifestyle centered in values that will transform our lives and the life of others. The 12 Steps program speaks for itself. I was just so marveled. Wonderful. We Westerners have this means to transform our lives, to transform our personality. Of course, this is borrowed from the Vedanta. We just cannot, take all. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, but He controls the senses and recollects the mind and fixes it on me as the Supreme. I call Him illumined. Listen, it's all over the entire Gita. Give me your mind. Center your mind on me. Who is me? That higher power, that God, that principle to whom we surrender. He who controls his senses, who is able to be alert, and recollects the mind and fixes it on me as the Supreme, I call him illumined. Wow. For those who have been following the 12 steps program, knowingly or unknowingly, are in their way to become illumined souls. Yes. For they already decided to have a relationship with God within them, their own divinity. Vedanta talks about this unity in diversity. Unity in diversity. Vivekananda says, the ideal of the Vedanta is that all wisdom and all purity are in the soul already, dimly expressed or better expressed. That is all the difference. The difference between man and all things in the whole creation is not in kind, but in degree. In degree of manifestation of that divinity. The essence of Vedanta is that there is but one being, and that every soul is that being in full, not a part of that being. Unselfishness is the denial of the lower or apparent self. We have to free ourselves from this miserable dream that we are bodies. Vedanta is a message of love, where by finding confidence in our own divinity, we are bound to recognize the divinity in others and therefore honor it. In helping others, we help ourselves. Thank you. I am going to be answering questions in the library. Can you tell me who's the next Sunday, Swami? Part 5. Swami Sumanasananda will continue speaking on his topic is Holy Mother as seen by Swami Vivekananda. Next Sunday at 11 a.m. Sumanasananda is the assistant minister of the society, the Vedanta Society of Southern California. On Wednesdays we have scripture classes. We are presently working, rescuing the treasures from the Son of God, chapter number 5. Next Wednesday we will have a summary of the chapter we just finished, chapter 5. You're all welcome to join us. 6:30 is Arati in our shrine. You can join us for prayer and meditation, and 7:30 in the library. The grounds are closed, and so the bookstore on Wednesday. We open at 6. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, that outer world is Purna, full of divine consciousness. This inner world is also Purna, full of divine consciousness. From Purna comes Purna. From the fullness of divine consciousness, the world is manifested. This Purna, taking Purna from Purna, Purna indeed remains, because divine consciousness is non-dual and infinite. Om, peace, peace, peace. Thank you.